Here's the things we're going to do today. I have a whole bunch of new color mixtures that I put together, and I'm going to preview them for you in a very interesting new way. I'm going to show you the actual color and how I created it. Um, uh, the second thing that we're going to do is talk about the Master Colorist program, and I'm going to show you after I tell you how the program works. I'm going to show you an example of 10 test questions that are on the Master Colorist exam. That's a little bit later on. And then I want to talk about a national color conference that I want to hold early this fall, and we'll see. Okay, here we go. First thing I want to talk about today is aubergine. Aubergine is a wonderful, wonderful color that is a mixture of blue violet and red violet. It's not just plain red violet by itself. You can, because red violet by itself is red violet, whereas aubergine has a little bit more mixture to it. I'll show you examples in a second. But here's what you have to remember when you're working with aubergine shades. You create them by mixing blue violet and red violet, but adding gold will soften the tonality if you want to use aubergine on white or salt and pepper hair. Next, if you add XL cream, it lightens the tone, but doesn't change it. It just simply lightens it. So here's the first example of aubergine. I took 30 grams of 4BV blue violet and I mixed it with, with 30 grams of 4 red violet. This is how we create aubergine. And you can see there's a difference between red violet and aubergine. I hope these slides look as good on your computers as they do on mine. Oh, Vincent
Tom,
said it's a great shade. Yeah, go ahead,
Tom,
David.
Tom, is aubergine? I mean, I know the color aubergine what it looks like, but again, just to set up, give people one more example. Would you also call that kind of like an eggplant? Is
Yes,
eggplant and
and
aubergine similar?
yes, as a matter of fact, the word for eggplant I forget if it's Italian or Portuguese, is aubergine.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
It's an interesting one. And it comes with a very dark brown. You can add black to it. There's all different ways of changing it up. But yes, aubergine is an eggplant type color, and it's primarily dark. Most of the time, it's dark. But here, I want to show you aubergine when I lighten it up by adding XL cream. So I'm going to use the same two colors, 4BV and 4 red violet. But here, look what happens. When you use just a small amount of the blue violet and the red violet and add a lot of XL cream to it, you can also see what happens. You lighten it way up to basically what we would call a pale violet color, but it's not really violet. It's more of a red violet, um, light aubergine, which is exactly what it is. Um, Karen said in your book and manual, you also make it with 2RO and 2RV. Yes, that's for creating really deep aubergine shades. Yes. Vincent said it looks like a nice pastel. It does. I like it. I like it a
Yeah, and
lot.
Tracy's saying it looks mauve and it is mauve because mauve is kind of a purple shade. You know, it's a light purple, sort of.
Sure. And remember also mauve, one of the things that is a contributor to mauve is blue violet. Blue violet is an integral part of mauve. A lot of people don't realize it, but yes, that's how you would make it in the lab. Let me show you now what happens when I take the same aubergine shades, but now I've added 3N to it. Now I've taken the 3N, but look at what I did over here. Oh, wait a minute, there's a mistake on this. See here where it says 4RV? That's wrong. It's 4RO. And remember, I'm using 4RO and 4BV. Why did I switch from an RO from an RV to an RO, very simply because I wanted it to be a little bit brighter and not as cool looking appearance. But remember something else that I say all the time, and that is don't mix blue violets with neutrals because they become pinky. Well, in this case, I don't care because I'm creating a red brown shade. So even though the mixture of 4BV and 3N would give me a pinky ash, when you add the red orange to it, it becomes aubergine. Think, remember, and David, I think we talked about this before. The 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 wheel, the color wheel works if you're just looking at things generically and for doing corrective work, but it doesn't work chemically. When you mix different chemicals together, you get a really strange result.
What, Tom, I always said color wheel doesn't really work the way we were taught. You know, the whole idea of neutralizing colors from one side to the other, it works, in my opinion, it works in one direction, but not the other. I mean, if
Yeah,
someone's hair is orange, you could definitely neutralize it by putting in some, some blue. But if somebody's hair is green, you can't really neutralize it by putting in red orange. It just makes it a darker green, in my opinion.
makes it it,
You know?
it makes it darker, or it makes it browner, a browner green or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does. But I
yeah,
I tend to agree with a lot of what you say, and that's one of the things that we're pretty much in agreement with, David.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
where we
Tom, just out of curiosity, were they able to download these swatches, or will they be later we
Oh
can
yeah,
send them to them?
everything will be online, and you'll be able to. And this will be all these swatches will be separate. So when you go to the Chromastic site, there'll just be another page of just the swatches, or the entire presentation. Tomorrow or the next day will be online to watch everything. So yes, the answer is yes. Now here, look at this one. What I've done is this time I switched and I'm still using BV and RV. And this time I added it to a gold. I added gold to it. But look what happens over here. The aubergine appearance has sort of disappeared. It no longer has that purpley look to it. And that's because the gold made it more of a soft reddish golden brown. So let me back up here for a second. And then back up here. Now, see how purple it is when you mix the two of them together? The true aubergine, this is the true aubergine shade here. But now look what happens when I add gold to it. It becomes more of a warm, reddish, golden brown. Now, of course, um, here's another mistake right here. See where this says 5 grams? That's wrong. It's not 5 grams.
I want to answer a question here while you're waiting for Carl here. David Kemp
Carl,
is saying, so David, how would you fix the green cast if you can't get the reddish for a reddish base? The best way I find, David, is you got to get the green out first. Mix some mild bleach solution, get the green out
the
first, and then you have to tone it with the red. But well, what I was saying earlier is that the red itself is not going to neutralize the green.
is 50. This here, up on this swatch, see where it says 5 grams? I'll fix this tomorrow. It's 50, not 5.
Where, that one?
Yeah.
All right, I'll get on. Oh, number two.
No, no, no. Give me back this. Just leave this here. Okay. All right. Next, moving on. David, did you answer that question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got sidetracked because everything's not, everything, you know how easily I get sidetracked.
Julie has a question here about making a mocha shade. Julie, we'll get to that a little bit later. He has a bunch of swatches here,
Oh, that's
and I'm sure he'll
funny.
probably
Yeah,
hit the
that's
shade that you're asking about, okay?
okay. So now let me move on from the next match. Scottish red. Now look at the difference between this red right here that you see and go back because remember I'm using 4G. Only this time I switched it up and I went with a blue violet, 6 blue violet instead of the 4 that I was using. So it's less intensity of the blue violet. I'm still using the red violet, 5 grams of the red violet, but this is what I call Scottish red. Scottish reds are golden, are basically golden browns that have red in them. There's many different ways to make them. This is one example, but let me go back now and look at this. Look at this. See the difference between a warm reddish golden brown, and then look here, and here I used 5 grams of the 4BV and 5 grams of the 4 red violet. And you see, I switched now from here to a 6 blue violet. And here I'm using 30 grams of the 4G, whereas in the previous one, I used 50 grams of the 4G. This one is browner because I used more of the 4G. This one is redder because I used less of the 4G. Got it?
Yeah, you know what I find interesting, Tom, is the introduction of the BVs in all these warm colors. I know blue, violet, obviously you need to add violet in it, but so many times I think we want to make a red violet type of a color, and we would just use red violet already to start off with, and maybe an N series, so you don't neutralize the N. But you're actually introducing now the blue violet in every one of these formulas. You're putting more blue violet into the formula. And I
Remember
think
what
that's a
I
very interesting concept.
Yeah, and it's because remember what I said, chemistry doesn't work the same way as the color wheel.
Mm.
I'll talk about a little bit more about that a little later on. All right, now that was the aubergine, the Scottish red, reddish browns, but now let's move into melon and nutmeg. Now, somebody asked about what was that color that they asked about?
Mocha. They were
Mocha.
asking about mocha.
I think you do
That was
mochas
Julie. Julie Klein.
into nutmegs. So watch what we do here now. You start by creating a melon chain by mixing blue, violet, and red, orange. It sounds so backwards. It sounds like it won't work. And of course, I'm going to show you how it works. And once again, it's because of chemistry. You alter the depth of melon by adding either light golden colors or light neutral colors. That would be an 8, a 10, uh, neutral or gold. But the way
Yeah,
you
Tom,
switch,
so I want to interrupt. Before you go, I'm sorry, interrupt you here. When you say melon, because I want to clarify for myself as well as the team here, are you saying melon? Are you thinking like cantaloupe, or are you thinking like honeydew?
uh,
I think it's important to distinguish because one is warm, orange, and one is green.
the answer is I'm talking about the orange ones, the cantaloupe
Okay.
melons. Now, that's very good. Then we're going to go and we're going to create nutmeg, which could also be considered mocha shades, by adding golden or neutral brown to the melon that we created. So let's look at a few examples of this. Here we go. Now, golden melon looks like the inside of a cantaloupe, but a little bit more golden. Blue violet plus red orange. Blue violet, red orange, and I put it in a base of 8G, gold, light golden blonde. So here we are with light golden blonde. I added blue violet. Now what happens when you mix blue and gold together? Normally you get beige shades. But because I put red orange into it, it becomes this beautiful golden melon color. That's what I call golden melon, David.
Okay, I just want to clarify because again, honeydew would have been green, so I just wanted to make sure we're on the right melon.
Okay, now let me take this a step further, and now let me lighten this by switching from the 8G. Let me take, instead of 8G, let me put XL cream into it. The same two shades that I used before in the same quantity, the 6BV and the 6 red orange. But look at how different it looks without the golden blonde added to it. Let me go back, look at this one here. Look at how gold it looks by the addition of 8G. Then I go here, and look at the difference. It becomes a much softer melon color. It's a light melon. Interesting, isn't it? I love this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, the ratio is pretty incredible because how much HG did you put in the previous swatch? Okay, so
50
50
grams of
grams of
HG
AG versus the 50 grams
XL
of
cream.
cream,
But
XL cream.
it's because I used the gold that it became this much brighter golden melon color. That's
Yeah,
why. There's this one. So
yeah, they're
now let me
beautiful. They're
move
they're
down.
beautiful.
I you should my house always is loaded with swatches. Let me move
Tommy,
down
these
here
work
to
as well. I mean, of course, these swatches are on non-pigmented hair. They're on white hair. Would you get the similar result, do you think, if the hair had been pre-bleached, like in a
yeah,
double process? Would you get these as toners?
you would get the exact color on hair that's been bleached and is left so it's not stripped to dead white, but it's left as a very pale yellow. As a matter
So
of
these would
fact,
work. So these would work as a toner and double process, or maybe a toner over highlights that have been pre-lightened.
yeah, yeah. Can everybody see this?
I see it.
Can you see it, David? All right,
Yeah.
now this is how this is the way I buy hair. Now this little thing here, which is what maybe 4 inches across, maybe 4.5 inches. This little guy cost $100 because it's virgin white hair, and they picked them. They told me that they picked them individually from hair, so it's virgin white. It's never been bleached. And then I take this little swatch that I have here and I cut them into individual small ones like this. And this is what all the dye outs are done on. And don't
Tommy,
bother
let's,
asking where can we get these
Isabel has a
swatches.
question.
You
Isabel
can't
has a
get
question.
wait
She says,
wait
"What
wait
volume
David.
developer are you using with the formula where you use the XL cream? What volume developer would you recommend with that?"
Every formula that you're going to see today was done with 20 volume developer because I'm using permanent color on virgin hair. So it's all done with 20 volume.
Okay, what if
There's a
you were
question
using the
from
same
Tracy.
formula as a toner over pre-bleached hair? Would you recommend dropping down to 10?
Then I would switch and absolutely, definitely drop down. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tracy's asking where can we get swatches like these? Unfortunately, they're not available to the general public or even to colorists. They're only available to manufacturers of hair color. So I use them, Wella uses them, L'Oreal uses them, everybody uses them, Clairol uses them, but they come from a place that's only sells um, uh, to manufacturers of color. Um, uh, send me an email, tom@chromastics.com, and I'll send you the information, and maybe you can talk them into it. I buy this by the pound. I think it's around $1,800 a pound or something like that. I don't remember exactly. Anyway, so that's this. So back to what we're doing here. Now look what I did here. Let me move up to this one. This is 50 grams of 8G, and then the blue, violet, and the red, orange. But now look at this one here, which is 30 grams of 8N, 15 grams of 6RO, and 15 grams of 6BV. So I've added more red and blue violet. So now I'm going to have, instead of a lighter shade, even though I'm still using level L 8 here, the other one was 8G, this is 8N, but there's less of it, but there's much more of the two shades that make the melon color. So consequently, I end up with a deeper, more of a medium melon blonde.
I see some of you
Um,
saying that you can get the ABHC has great resource for the swatches. Yeah, I think they do
Plug-in
sell
pivot
swatches.
point.
You can also
Here's
get
the
swatches from Pivot Point, but they're not as pure like Tom has. They
The
are
ones from
chemically
Pivot
treated
Point
already.
and the ones from the ABCH are actually goat hair, and you can still get good results. You can get good results, but it won't be dead dead on like the human hair ones will. Uh, Kimberly asked, how long would you process if you were using them as a toner with 10 volume? It depends upon two things, the texture of the hair and how light you bleached the hair up. So there's no exact timing, but I rarely time anything for a highlight unless I'm doing extremely pale silvers and platinums. I generally time most of them between 5 and 10 minutes. David, how long do you time your toners?
Yeah, yeah. There's no set time either, Tom. I would say that's about right, 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, I rarely would go any longer than that. I mean, sometimes it's 2 minutes. When it comes to toners, to me, it's like, it's ready, take it off. So that's
Yep.
that's that's the answer to that.
David asked, "Is there a manual to learn how to formulate? Since the way that everybody's been taught to formulate is using the color wheel." Um, I'm going to respond to that two ways, David. Number one, I don't know that there's an actual formulation manual, but I have a formulary which gives you a bunch of ideas like this. But from now on, this is the way all of the Chromastics formulas will appear. So you get to see what the mixture is and what the final result is. So this is a brand new project that I'm working on, and all of this will, of course, always be available online. David,
I think,
do you have
Tom.
a manual for formulating?
Well, when you do also have of course, the instruction manual on using Chromastics, but gives you the idea behind it. But I use the quick start guide a lot. The quick start guide that I created.
Hmm.
Um, it doesn't give you exact ratios, but it does give you an idea of what colors you can blend together to make certain colors.
And now one more example here. I'm going to move, and I'm still using the melon shades, the red, orange, and the blue, violet. But this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to change it into a nutmeg by still using gold, but a 4. In other words, I'm using a golden brown now instead of a golden blonde. And as soon as you add brown to the melon shades, they become what I call nutmeg. Now, mocha would be a slight variation on this. What I'll do is not tonight, but later this week, I'll turn around and I'll start mixing. I'll make up some mocha formulas for you, and I'll just post them, and I'll show them on the next webinar, which I already have the date for. I'll tell you about in a little bit, and then I'll have a bunch more of these for you. But that's my version of nutmeg. Simply gold with a little bit of BV and a little bit of red orange in it. Do you like that, David?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful color. And I think that's not too far from mocha. I mean, mocha, now, as I'm thinking of the color mocha, I kind of started thinking about a whole coffee series, like
Uh-huh.
maybe like a little bit of a coffee, like cafe au lait and mocha and latte. And you can actually do a group of maybe like 5 different type of brown shades with that coffee concept. I think that would be a really good, strong thing to do, Tom.
I just wrote it
Um,
down. So consider it.
yeah.
Consider it
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
production.
Robin, you're asking here where you can get the quick start guide. Yes, definitely email me after the presentation here, and I'll send you one in a PDF file. It's only about 8 pages long, but it just kind of gives you an idea how these things go together. And that goes true for any of you, of course. Any of you that haven't got the quick start guide yet, just let me know and I'll send it to you.
It's interesting because Karen Snyder just brought up an incredibly important point. Don't forget to include the undertones in formulation. Now remember, I'm showing you pure color on white hair. But to Karen's point, remember that you're not going to get this same shade if you're putting it on hair that's a dark blonde or a light brown to begin with, because you have to take into consideration what's happening with that hair and how it's altered when you put peroxide on the hair and how the two are going to intermix. Good point, Karen. Thank you for reminding me on that.
And the
And
thing
then
is, I think, is that there's so many possible variations based on what natural color you're working on. which makes it kind of impossible to do it all. So I think this gives you a good idea, a good reading, but absolutely the undertones are going to play a huge role depending on what you're starting with, of course.
David asked if someone's pulling a lot of warm undertones, should we use just the BV to get the nutmeg? You'd want to, the answer is when you use just blue violet on brown hair and you lighten the brown hair with just blue violet, you end up getting very caramel type looks. That's how I do caramel highlights in the salon. Is I put blue violet with XL Super on hair that is medium natural brown, and I end up with caramel brown highlights through the hair. That's how I do it. How do you create caramel and undertones like that for highlighting, David?
I'd lighten it up and tone it over with a caramel color. I mean,
Ah,
I wouldn't try to bring it up to caramel. I would lighten it up and you know what I'm saying, and then just tone it to a caramel color.
Oh, Trey Elkins just put a very interesting point up. He said, I enjoy using permanent colors as toners for the added benefit of a slight base break. I always feel if I tone for less than 10 minutes, I either something formulated, I don't know, or did not address porosity prior to toning. You bring up a very, very good point there, Trey. However, remember this, if you use the Chromastics liquid shades, which are primarily toners, and you add just a quarter of an ounce, which is 7 grams, up to a half of an ounce of XL Super into the formula, they base the break and they do a base break and tone at the same time. If you want to do just half a level of base break in those same 10 minutes, then you use XL cream. Great point.
Yeah, David Kemp, you do it like I do. Usually bring the hit up to pale yellow, then he tones it to a caramel tone.
Tracy, yes, the answer is yes. You're finally going to make your first highlight using a Hyla shade 4BV and XL Super with 40 on level 2 hair. That will make a really beautiful caramel color in the hair. Hopefully your client knows what caramel is before you do it. Now, let me take you here and show you different ways of doing strawberry. Because normally you just mix, if you want to create a strawberry shade, you simply mix gold and red orange together to create strawberries. But I want to show you a different way of creating strawberries that look a little different, and that's by adding blue violet and red violet, or blue violet and red orange. There's a lot of different ways of doing strawberry shades, but here's a few examples. Whoops, once again, I jumped way up ahead backwards. Like a, here we go. First one, strawberry blonde. I created it by mixing 8 gold plus 4 BV and 4 red violet. Now this is interesting because remember, if I mix blue violet and gold together, and notice there's just a very small amount of it here, what do I create? I create beiges. But then when I added red violet, not red orange to it, I added red violet to it, it took that beige and it changed it into strawberry blonde. It's you don't have to do things this way, but it shows you the options that are available to create different types of strawberry blondes. Next, I want to show you another strawberry blonde that I created with just only 4 RV and gold. Now look at this strawberry blonde. I'm going to go back to the other one now. This is just 5 grams, and so there's no blue violet in this. And look at the depth of this golden strawberry. And now look, go back to this one. Look at how much deeper this one is because I added the blue violet. So I created it this way. It's deeper, it's a deeper strawberry, and this one lighter and brighter. Got it? Now, one more. Look at this way. This time, all I mixed together was blue violet and red orange, equal parts. and I ended up with another type of strawberry. Let me go back to this one here, which is just red violet, and see how a tiny, tiny bit in this one. Now look at the depth of this one right here, which is 5 grams of 4BV, 5 grams of 4RV. And now look at what those two colors together, if you go to the sixes, now instead of being 4BV, I use 6BV, and instead of 4RV, I'm using 6RO. And look at this. It's an electric strawberry color.
I actually like this color the best, I think. I think this is a stronger strawberry. It's
Yeah, it's electric strawberry. And
yeah.
I have them, of course, I have all these swatches. Yeah. But these are pretty darn close representations. My friend Carl Bloat, who's actually listening in, did all these photos for me. Let me move
The
down
photos look
here.
great. They look
One
really good.
more. Let's go to purple. Purple is red violet and blue violet mixed together. Now you notice what I'm not doing here is I'm not using concentrates, blue and red concentrate, which is a different shade of purple. Now I'm using blue violet and red violet. Now take a look at what happens when I mix these together. There it is, full strength. Blue violet and red violet. So if you mix them together, you create this purple shade. And this purple shade could be used on your aubergine shades. It could be used right on top of hair that's brown with a low volume developer, so you get very little lift out of it, and it becomes the base color that Karen was talking about earlier, and this purple shade on top.
Tom, I think Isabel was asking about making a purple on the Facebook page a couple weeks back. And Isabel, you're online here, so maybe is this an idea of what you were talking about that day?
I think
Um,
Isabel is listening actually on her phone
oh,
instead of a
okay.
computer. Yeah, I don't know
No,
if
no,
she can respond.
no. She's watching on her phone. She's watching on her
Oh,
phone.
okay. So there's your purple color. But now let me show you what happens when you take the same purple and it's look at the proportions here. 45 grams of 4BV, 15 grams. So that's a 3-to-1 ratio of blue violet to red violet to create this purple shade. Now, look at this one. 45 grams of blue violet plus 15 grams of what happened here? Well, there's another mistake here, but wait a minute. Let me go back. Something happened here. 45 grams. Oh, here, red violet. Something's wrong. Light purple. So there's something missing. So let me tell you what's missing from this formula. Oh, this is wrong.
Tom, you
Here,
say here that this is a 15 grams of, that's
it's
your,
4G, not
this
4RV.
is 4RV and it's not 4G.
No, it's supposed to be G. So I made a
Okay.
mistake on this thing. Oh, I should have looked at these a little bit more closely. My problem. I made an error. I'll fix this one before we post it. This is 15 grams of 4G, not 4RV. My mistake. And then lastly, now look what I've done. Lilac beige. If you mix gold and blue violet together, it creates beige. So look at the proportions. 42 grams of 10G, 6 grams of 6BV. I've created a very, very light beige blonde. But then by adding a small amount of red violet to it, it switches it to lilac beige. You can see the beiginess there. You can see the lilac to it. Interesting.
Beautiful, beautiful, Tom. It almost looks like a red gold, like that the telephone, the color one of those iPhones is kind of like a red gold.
Oh,
It's
I have no idea.
yeah, very pretty, very pretty.
And lastly,
Rose gold. That's it, Grace. Thank you, Grace. It's called rose gold. That's it.
Rose gold. Okay, let me go back to that.
Thanks, Grace.
Okay, rose gold. All right, I like that. All
Yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah,
let
yeah, yeah.
me
iPhone
go
makes
here.
a color telephone because I know because one of my daughters wanted one called rose gold, and it has that appearance to it.
Okay, now, lastly, well, not really, lastly, teal. Teal is blue, violet, and green concentrate. So let me show you what happens when you mix blue, violet, and green concentrate together. You end up with teal. How's that? 40 grams of blue violet, 20 grams of green concentrate. Teal. Now, how often are we going to use this color? Not too often. But suppose you've got some young person who wants teal highlights in their hair, or that what's that? What's it called when we color only the bottom half of the hair? Um,
Ombre,
Ombre.
ombre,
Yeah.
ombre.
Suppose
Teal
they want a
ombre.
teal base. There you go. Thank you, Vincent. Ombre. So far, so good?
Yeah,
All
good.
right. Okay, here we go. Now, I want to move on now. This is concluding this part, which is just all the new shades. I like starting all the presentations like this. Now I'm going to move on to Master Colorist Training Program. And here it is. Advantages to becoming a Master Colorist. Elevation to the position of Chromastics Master Hair Colorist is a unique position. Now, although there are many Master Colorists and titles available in the United States, none requires the extensive skills of the Chromastics Master Hair Colorist. We only award it to the best of the best. There aren't very many. There's one online right now. Is Yolanda still online? I don't know if she's still here or not, but Yolanda was one of our first master colorists, and she
She said
really
yes,
knows.
he's online.
Oh, excellent. Uh, you enjoy being a master colorist, Yolanda? Of course she does. What we're doing is, she says, I'm honored, and then a bunch of kisses there. The Chromastics Master Hair Colors are about to be listed in a worldwide directory, and it'll be available to both consumers and to other colorists. So those of you that get to that point, you'll be listed worldwide for Chromastics, and hopefully it'll do something to enhance everything that you do. But here's the way we go about it to creating it. There's a few steps. Step number one, you've got to know all about chromatics uh, and hair color in general. So basically, product knowledge and hair color information. And it's easy to do it by simply reviewing all of the written materials. What I will do a little bit later this week is I'm going to create a new folder that in just the one folder has all of the written material that you need to do, that you need to review. Step number two, after you've reviewed and you're pretty sure you know what you're doing, is the completion of a master colorist written test, and you must achieve a goal of not less than 90%. If it's less than 90%, you're going to have to just wait. The test is about general color, product knowledge, permanent, deposit only, and liquid, chemistry, hair structure and function, but not too much hair structure and function, just how it pertains to hair coloring, and then hair color formulation. Now, the way that we do this is I think you should have anything that you need available to you to make decisions on hair color. So this isn't one of those pressure tests where you take and you've got an hour to complete. When you're ready to take the test, I'm going to send it to you, or I'll email it to you. I don't care which way you want to get it. And then you have to do it and return it in 3 days. So you've got 3 days to take the test. I think that's pretty reasonable because some of it is a little confusing. Some of it's a little bit more difficult, but if you want to be a master colorist, you should be a master colorist. After that, after you take the test, the third part is the submission of a model makeover, a transformation, or a correction. And it's not just a before and after shot. You have to document it the way that we used to see in Modern Salon magazine or the Hair Colorist magazine, where it would show 6 or 8 steps along the way, so you saw what was happening. That's the way we're going to do it. And then you've got to provide an exact formulation. However, but I'll send you the format for that also, the way that it has to be followed. And the last step is a telephone interview with guess who? Me. And it's just to ascertain that you're on the spot. You can come up with answers. And it's not high pressure. It's just talking. But I like to know that how you respond to certain questions. Uh, we're getting a whole bunch of stuff there. Are you reading that, David?
Okay, here we go. Patricia saying hello. I'm Patricia Carbo from
Oh, I love your
Hawaii.
colors.
How
Thank
you
you.
doing? Love your colors. Good. Um, Karen has a goal to be a master colorist and ABHC. Vince saying that ABHC and master colorist are my goals for 2018 and 19. Um, let's see. Vince says it's a super reasonable doing the 3 day, letting them have 3 days to do it. Vince says that the ABHC had to be all done in 1 day. And Robin
Okay.
says, hi, Karen, I'm ABHC too. All right.
We have, surprisingly enough, there's a very large number of ABCHers that use Chromastics Color. I'm very, very happy.
Well, here's the thing. I think, keep in mind, Tom, is that the ABHC, I mean, Andres Nezidic's program is wonderful. It's what I call generic hair color information knowledge that every hairdresser should absolutely know. So in that respect, I think it's very good, and that's why I teach there, and that's why you teach there.
That's right.
In my program, Trade Secrets by Hair Color Expert, I feel, and I've had conversations with this with Andre Nezidic about it, takes it just one step further because I basically teach a lot of things that he teaches, and he agrees with this. But also I introduce then some concepts on color correction and things like that that the ABHC doesn't really get into. So and both those programs are, I think, excellent, not just because I wrote one, but excellent in their own right to give you the fundamental base knowledge to be able to use any hair color out there. But then when we get into Chromastics, it adds another layer, I think, of knowledge and complexity because you're working out with a pure base color versus a blended base color. And there are some differences. And like the formulations that you showed earlier in this presentation, you can do so much more with a pure tone color that you could never do with the blended base color. So it's almost like different layers of education that I think that we all have to go through. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. So from basic fundamental to more intermediate advanced to then we get into like really more advanced strategies, which is what we're talking about here. That's kind of how I see it in my mind, Tom. You know, you can't do one without the other. I think they all have their, I think they all build upon each other. Because the stuff that we're teaching here today, I feel you can never understand if you don't understand the fundamentals that are taught in the ABHC or in my education program.
I agree with you. And there's a question about Milady standard cosmetology. I don't know the answer to that. Something about Vincent asked it about Andre working with Milady, and I don't know the answer to that. I could always ask Andre. Here's an example of the test questions. Here's 9 of them. Question number 1: approximately how much is achieved from a super glazed formula processed for 30 minutes with 20 volume developer? Well, of course, you have to know what a super glazed formula is, so that's in the written material. And there's a difference between it for 30 minutes and using it for 20 minutes. It changes the lift of it, and there's a difference between using 20 and 10 volume developer. So you've got to just read these questions and be able to answer that question. That's example of one. The second one, chocolate brown on white hair, 2 formulas. Well, there's a lot of formulas for chocolate brown, and but they all have certain things in common. So what you'd have to determine is how to create a chocolate brown the way with Chromastics hair color. And there has to be 30 different answers to this that's correct. But that's the type of question about formulating. Number three is a little bit more difficult. When mixing 45 grams of 4 neutral plus 15 grams of 4 red orange, what's the working level of the 4N? There's a difference between formulating level and working level. This is a lot more in depth, and this is something that I talk about many, many times about when you're doing it, that for every 15 grams of color you add that is not the same as the color that you're using, in this case, 15 grams of 4RO into 4N, then you no longer have a working level of 4N. What you have is the actual answer to that is 5N. Yeah, I know that's a confusing one, but that's what being a master colorist is all about. Let's see.
Tom, what Grace is saying here, Grace has a question. She says, does the written material come with visual as well?
I don't know what she means.
Well, I think the written documentation, the color formulary, and the instruction manual per se don't have a lot of illustrations or photographs or swatches like you have here. They're more direction oriented. They give you directions, but that's why we're doing so many of these webinars and putting out new information with actual visual representations of what the colors look like. That's why we're doing this, Grace.
I wrote a new color manual, and I don't know if it's online or not, but it has a ton of visuals in it. I think it's not online because it was so huge that it was difficult for people to view it. But it will be included in the folder that everyone who wants to become a master colorist for Chromastics can download. So the
Grace
answer is
wants
there
to know
will
if
be.
Grace wants to know if there's a cost for the material and the test.
Oh, that's a very interesting question. And I think that if you are a master colorist and you're representing Chromastics, you shouldn't have to pay for anything. The I don't have a photo here, but I've got pictures of the master colorists and the certificate you get, which is a really nice, beautiful certificate. We pay for everything. It's a very, it's my way of rewarding people for working with Chromastics and for learning and doing an amazing job for us. So it's the entire program is 100% free, no charge whatsoever.
Tom, Stephen Michael is asking a question here. He says, I'm assuming that once a person receives all the technical info to become a master colorist, all these questions will be included in the required reading. In other words, you're going to give them all the answers in the documentation for these programs to learn here.
Yeah, all of the required reading contains all of the information necessary to answer the test. And remember, you have 3 days, so you can go back and forth and reference and look things up. It doesn't have to be done in an hour or 2 or 3 hours. Anyway, there's an example of the types of shades, the types of questions that you'll get. Look at number 7. True or false? Neutral is not a tone. Most people think neutral is a tone. It's not. Neutral means no tonality. That's what neutral means. So there's your answer right there.
Tom, you know, some manufacturers call the N series, and some manufacturers they call it neutral, and some of them call it natural.
Okay.
Which do you think is there a correct one or a better one or a different one? What's your take on that?
Everybody makes up their own rules when it comes to this, but I'll tell you what my sentiment is. One of the things that happens is when you put your neutral series or your natural series on white hair, it shouldn't look cool. It shouldn't look warm. It should look like a neutral shade. And a lot of manufacturers make their neutrals with either violet or blue violet or excuse me, violet or green base to it so that they can be used on salt and pepper hair to give you a cooler result. I don't agree with that. I give you a pure neutral base and let you determine how to alter it. So the answer is every manufacturer makes up their own rules when it comes to hair color, but I created this line for colorists, not for the general public. It's made for people who really, really want to do hair color.
Tom, a
Really
couple
want
quick
to get
comments
started.
here. Tracy says, how do you obtain the acquired reading? Number one.
No charge. It's just there'll be a folder. So everybody who wants to do it, your folder will be available to you. Tom at chromastics.com. Tom, I want the information, and boom, I'll ship everything to you. I mean, I'll send everything to you through email.
Okay, Stephen Michael is saying, awesome. I really think you guys have it going on with respect to how you're training us. Great opportunity. Thank you, Stephen Michaels. You're always so appreciative, and you know he's a great guy. You are always with us, and I appreciate you turning up today. And we plan to be doing a lot more of this, so keep in
Oh,
touch. Uh,
interesting. Vincent's asking about lines that have neutral warm. That's I don't know. If you wanted to make a warm neutral with chromastics, all you have to do is add gold concentrate to it, and boom, you've got warm neutrals. But I don't know why people do what they do. Um, I just don't know the answer.
you know, what the thing is that most color lines that I've ever used in the past or have experimented with, the neutral line of color always has either a real flat grayish background or it has a kind of a greenish background or
Mhm.
sometimes even a mauvey background. It never is just a nice clear neutral. And that's one thing I love about Chromastics is that it really is just a neutral, you know, brown shade. You know, it's not green, it's not gray, it has no funny background. But again, that's because it's not made with blended base colors, and
And that's
the other ones
that's
are.
why you can alter it because of
Yeah,
the way it's made. There's a bunch of
yeah,
questions.
yeah.
Tracy, yes, you can get all the material without the test, no problem. Uh, um,
We have some. Trey is asking off point, but I'm interested in Tom's application of permanent single process color when lightening the base. What criteria do you use to determine when you do a virgin application or implement a different strategy?
Permanent single process color when lightening the base. Um, that's one of the things that I created purposely was I didn't like the way they worked, but I liked the concept many, many, many years ago that Clairol had. Um, they had a product, it was called Luminize, but it came in colors. And it would lighten the base and add tone, except I didn't like them. I didn't think they were very good colors. And one of the things that I did when I created liquid shades was that I created it so it could be altered into a base breaker. I use a base breaker when I want to just barely lighten the base a little bit and not have a dramatic change in the natural color. That's when I do it that way. The only time I do virgin applications full head with full color, permanent color with the 20 volume or higher, is when I want to do a color change or cover gray hair. So I'm a what's the word that I want? I'm not a real aggressive colorist. Um, I do a tremendous amount of uh, uh, runway runway models and the professional people, and so I tend to be a little bit more conservative in the way that I work. But call me at any time. Everybody knows my telephone number. Call me at any time, and I'll talk your ear off if you want to talk about these things.
Okay, Vincent is saying, right, I'd rather make my own and a neutral. It's more creative and cheaper to make your own. Yep.
You pick,
Um,
what do you mean to make your own neutral? What does that mean?
uh, Vince, you'd have to answer on that one.
I'd rather make my own neutral warm. Yes. So that's in other words adding gold to it. Yes. I thought making neutral because I mean everybody realizes that neutral is not red, yellow, and blue. At this stage of the game, everybody should know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so next, moving right on because it's been It's been a while now. Okay. I'm going to hold a national color conference. I'm looking at Vegas because it's easy for most people to get to, and I can get less expensive rooms that way. Boy, everybody's calling me. I can get less expensive rooms that way in Vegas. So I'm looking at doing a Monday and Tuesday. If we go in on a Saturday, it's a lot more expensive for everything. It's going to be color only. I don't want to do cutting and styling and everything else because I'm a colorist. We're a color company, and everybody who's attending is going to be attending for color reasons, um, uh, not for anything else. And it's going to be a lot of advanced technical and chemistry information. Um, um, but that's what I'm looking forward, and it's going to be this fall, early fall, I think. So I'm working on it. So that's the information about the. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
I want to say, Stella, thank you. She says the best color line I've ever used in 50 years. Your seminars are fantastic. Thank you, Tom and David. Thank you, Stella. And Kimberly is in on the new on the conference you want to do. Vince says hopefully it's in August. August,
Yeah.
August in Las Vegas. A little warm there. We'll see.
Let me show you this. Can y'all see this? This is, I can y'all see this?
Yeah, we see it.
This is a fennel ring, and this is the basis for all hair color. This little guy that I'm holding up here. And when I put two of them together like this, that's
Hold it up more in
fennel
front of the camera. There you go.
Now what I've created is uh, 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 what do you call it? Paraphenylamine diamine. There it is. This is the basis of all hair color, and this is how we make brown hair color. This is what the chemistry and technical information is going to be about in the next seminar. It's going to be all about chemistry and showing you what the actual dyes look like and what happens when we mix them all together. It's April 9th is the next seminar. And it's all about
Tom, you know Stephen Hawkins just died the other day, right? Well, you're like the Stephen Hawkins of hair color because you are so far out there. You are so far out there. Just like he wrote he wrote the relationship to everything in the world. Well, the way you teach hair color sometimes you're pretty far out there as well. But it's all good stuff, Tom.
Anyway, this is the next seminar date coming up. When will the webinar be available to watch again? Oh, I'll have the guys posted online in just a couple of days. What I'm going to do is clean up those two swatches that are screwed up and put in the correct ones that are missing. Those two that I had that had the wrong formulas in them. Stephen says, Stephen wants to be as nerdy as I am someday. I like being a chemistry and I like being a hair color nerd. I enjoy it a lot. David, before I close this seminar out, is there anything else that you'd like to say?
No, I think we pretty much summed it up. I do think that just want to keep in mind that all the formulations you saw today are new formulations. They're new things that Tom has been working on, and they're not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a lot of the formulations are very complex and they're not for everybody. But I think the key takeaway here is, especially if you guys download this and keep it in a binder or something, because it's on a PDF file. The key takeaway here is the amazing amount of things you can do with this color line that cannot be done with other color lines. And I mean, you cannot blend colors like this with other color lines, folks, because of the nature of most color lines being made with blended bases. The more you start trying to combine colors and make colors, the more you're making mud. Okay, you're just neutralizing everything out, and it doesn't work. So this makes this color line unique. And as I said earlier about the ABHC and my program and Tom's program, is almost you're learning in levels. Well, just within the world of Chromastics alone, I mean, given the fact that you have 19 shades to work with, plus your XL Cream and XL Super, you can make an endless array of colors, and that's incredible. So there's a lot of different levels in learning Chromastics. It can be as simple as you want it to be, or it can be as complex as you want it to be, depending on how far you want to take it. So I'm really glad that all you guys showed up here this morning and today. And Tom, again, I think you did an amazing job as you always do. I think you always share your knowledge with us. I appreciate it. I personally am doing quite a bit more webinars, not Chromastics webinars, just generic hair color webinars based on my books and stuff. So all of you guys are on my mailing list. You know that I'm in touch with you constantly. And if you're not on my mailing list, you can go to my website at haircoloruniversity.com and sign up there to get on my mailing list. But other than that, Tom, I think we did a great job. I think you did an awesome job, and I just want to thank everybody for being with us. Yolanda says, "David, saw your tools, love it." Yolanda, you know you were one of my you and Isabel were on one of my blogs that spoke about you. You know how well you guys are using the product. So stay hang in there. Good deal. All right, Tom, I'm done.
Okay, Michael, the answer is yes. Just send me an email, tom@chromastics.com. And for everybody who doesn't have my telephone number, it's 917-375-7741. I'll repeat that if you don't have a pencil. My number is 917-375-7741. David, thank you. Everyone who was here for this hour and 5 minutes, thank you for being here. I hope you picked up something you could use today. Call me at any time, email me at any time, and I'm happy to chat with you. Thanks, David.
Okay,
See
guys,
y'all.
thanks a lot. We'll be in touch with you guys later. Thank you so much for turning up. Bye-bye.
Bye.